Hello and welcome to Show Up, Stand Out, Online Visibility Expert Series for Entrepreneurs. My name is Juliet Stapleton. I'm a visibility strategist. And today my guest is wonderful Chizzy Igbokwe. Hi, Chizzy.
Hi, Juliet.
Chizzy is an international speaker. She's a Forbes contributor and a global career consultant. Wow, Chizzy, this is very impressive. So I am here to ask you a few questions about this global career business and the rest, of course. So let me start with a question that some people will probably be put off at first with, but I know your answer will be absolutely fantastic. So if you had to choose between living for others and putting your dreams first, what's your position on that?
I love this question because if you asked me this 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said living for others, of course. But what I realize is sometimes you put your dreams first and that helps you help others. So you're still able to contribute to the masses and to live for a cause greater than yourself, but you still put your own dreams first. And I think it's really easy for us to feel like, well, if I put myself first, I'm selfish, and then I also don't get to help others. But then really we end up literally living for others. And what that looks like is often that we're like, well, the only way I can help someone is to put all my dreams last. Especially us women, we tend to just say, well, you know what? I'll get to me later. And then we look up and we're 60 years old and we're like, okay, great. All my kids have graduated from college. Okay, now I can do the things I want to do. But how much energy do you have? How much do you even remember what you wanted to do? And especially if it's something physical like traveling, you won't enjoy it the way you would have if you were 30 or even 25 or even 45. So really it's putting your dreams first, especially because your vision and what your purpose is always going to deal with helping other people. Like your purpose is never just going to be about yourself. That's how you know it's not your purpose.
I agree with you 100%. And in fact, it goes even, to me, it goes even into parenting, and when I was bringing up my daughter, she is now 17, 18 actually, in a month's time, and she's in college and, I feel free now. But you know what? I've always put myself a little bit first because I didn't want the child to grow up thinking that everything is done for them and that the mothers are some sort of like a, version of a servant that does everything you want. I just think that it's a wrong idea to give your child. The child needs to be independent. And in a way, this is the same thing. But however, as a woman and as an entrepreneur who's working all the time, it's very difficult to have that kind of me time. It's very difficult to put yourself first. So it's important to change that sort of mindset, isn't it? And think about what you can achieve if you're actually if you're making your dreams come true, if what you want is happening, your business is growing, you're traveling, let's say, if you want to travel, and how can that affect you? First of all, the state of your mind and how you're happy, and everybody who you can help with, right? Well, you did something that we were talking about earlier, and I'm talking about building a global community for digital nomads and remote employees and jet setters. So can you tell me the story? How did you come to this? What compelled you to create this community?
Oh, man. So it actually started years and years ago. I remember literally the day that I was hanging up my favorite red jacket that I bought while living in Paris. And it was like I could hear an audible voice of God telling me like, okay, well, you can continue to live and work around the world. Because at that time I had now lived in maybe 2 or 3 countries, or you can stop and help other people. And I remember pausing, and it was like, okay, all right. There's no denying that that's what just happened. And that's when I knew again, this was bigger than me. And it was also really clear that everything I had been given the opportunity to do was so that I can help other people. It was, of course, the benefit was I was able to experience this world and travel, but it was really about God telling me, I helped you do that so that you can now go turn around and help others. And you can recognize that desire in others and most of all, the struggle. And so one day I looked up and I was like, wow, I've been an expat, which is living in a different country. I've been a digital nomad, which is working remotely and living and traveling wherever you want. And I've also been a jet setter, which is having a travel related job or business. And none of those things I planned, but in hindsight, it was like, wow, those are the ways to do it. And then it also hit me that it took a while for me to accept this calling, because for me, it was a lot, right? And I was afraid of it. You know, I was like, that's a lot of pressure. You want me to be the person to lead this movement? And when I finally realized I have done all these things, I then said, okay, well, if it's bigger than me, it can't be just about me. This isn't going to be about just my experiences. And that's when I also started to recognize in this travel space, what we see a lot of is one, solidarity. So it's usually one influencer at a time saying like, hey, you should travel more. And then two, it's a lot of travel more, but no one was really talking about how. And the people that were talking about how, it's always been a one-way street. You should be a digital nomad, and that's it. And that's the only way. And I really felt like
yes,
other people...
sorry. I was going to just add something there, that the travel part as well. A lot of people are afraid of, it's not that they don't want to travel. They're afraid, aren't they? They're afraid it's going to be costly. They're afraid, what about their commitments? How are they going to manage their business?
They're afraid about what they're going to leave at home. That's the biggest part. A lot of people, I've had clients say to me like, well, what if something happens when I'm away? What if something happens at home? And, you know, my response to that is, well, what if you decided to move to LA and your family lives in New York? That same something can happen. You know, and it's all literally the same thing. It's just a different time zone. It's just different borders. So the fear is what a lot of people aren't talking about as well. And there's so much that's going to happen along this journey. And let me let you know a small piece of it. For everyone, it's different, but here's a little bit of how you can prepare, because it's not avoidable. But if you know that these challenges are coming, you're able to say, okay, I'm not so caught off guard anymore. I knew this was going to happen. And more importantly, you won't give up, versus when it just blindsides you and then you say, wow, this isn't what I asked for, and you give up because it was hard.
Like with everything, more or less.
Exactly.
You know, like if you're starting to grow your business, if that business overnight boomed, and you know, you'll just get overwhelmed, because you have to, it's all about managing these things, you know, and like winning a lottery is not for everybody, because some people can have a heart attack. You know, you just have to take things in good measures. I agree with that. So how long ago was this that you decided that you need to lead this movement, and how were you building it? Just tell me a little, this end of story.
So actually it started, it was really solidified for me after the most recent US election. I had friends calling me literally the day after Trump won. I had friends calling me from different social circles, and they said to me, hey, can you help me find a job abroad? And I was like, wait a minute, these two people don't know each other. So they know me separately. And so if everyone is asking for help and they're all from just different walks of life, it's time to be more urgent about this. And I'd also let them know, like, I'll help you, but not out of fear. It's not because we have this president you don't like. I'll help you. If you've always wanted to do this, might as well do it now. And so that's when I really put it into gear. And I said, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. And I really differentiated myself by looking at every other person that's doing something similar as a partner of mine. So by that, I mean, like, my community is this hub where, regardless of how you want to live this global lifestyle, you can get it here. And so often, if you want to be a digital nomad, but what happens if 5 years from now, you're like, I kind of just want to stay in Germany and have this job. Do you have to now go find an expat community? Or what if you want to go back to the US and have a travel related job? So I really want everyone to stay in one space, to know that when they pivot, they don't have to go and find all these other resources. And of course, sometimes you change your mind in the midst of it and you're like, I was wrong. I want to do something else. So that's the one piece. And then the second piece is, again, it's not just about me. So this really is like the central stage where a lot of people that are doing similar things as me can come and share with the community. Here's how you can be an expat. Here's how you can be a travel blogger. Here's how you can be a global speaker. And that way it's not limited to my experiences and it's not limited to I'm the one person. So this is really this hub where you can see all types of people, because otherwise, if you don't know me and if you don't know people like yourself, you don't know where to find us. This is the place to find all of us.
And that's fantastic, because there is no one way. There's no one way to grow the business. There's no one way
There's no one right
travel.
way, exactly.
So everybody shares. That's why collaboration, and that's why being part of a community of, let's say this is a community about global travel, and there could be different other communities, but you go there to experience what these other people have experienced, to learn a little bit about that, and then develop your own thing. So there's no really like A to B map with these things, isn't it? But
exactly.
However, there are certain things that you can advise, I suppose. So if somebody, say I'm an entrepreneur and I want to be location free, I don't know if I want to constantly travel, but I want to move and I want to, where would you suggest starting with, or what shall I look at, if I haven't done it before? And yes, what are the objections that I probably will have? Brief me on this.
Sure, absolutely. So the first thing is that you look at your beliefs, right? Before you go and do things, you really start on the inside. People always talk about, mindset, and a friend of mine just said this the other day. Mindset doesn't matter if you don't believe. And it's like, if you have a deep-rooted belief that you can't do it, then you're not going to do it, right? So it's really taking a look at that. And when you examine where your beliefs are, and when I say beliefs, I'm also talking about limiting beliefs. And then you also look at like what you actually want and how you want your life to look. And what we'll see is there's always this disparity between, so a lot of people have trouble even articulating, you know what, I want to be able to live in Dubai. I want to be able to live in Bali and work from the beach, right? That's like what I call the new American dream. But some people are afraid to even say that out loud, because really they say, well, and I've had a lot of clients say this to me, well, my background is in engineering. I have a master's in finance. And so they talk about everything that they've done, and that limits what they actually allow themselves to see. And they don't even articulate the vision. So it's the belief and the vision. And that is really where all of it starts. And it goes back to what you were saying. There's no one right way. The right way is whatever way best aligns with the future vision for your life, right? Because without that, then we're kind of just throwing darts. And that was me for years. I was like, I'm going to do all of this. And I actually never stopped to say, well, what kind of global lifestyle do I want? And I ended up doing all of it, but it was haphazard. It was all over the place. I was also young, but that also is what helped me create this and understand these are the paths you take. So the first step is the belief and creating the vision. And then the second step is when you really get to identify your allies, which are your community members, people that are on this journey with you. And with that as well, unfortunately, you're also going to identify the people that are the naysayers in your life. Sometimes that'll be really close friends. And the thing that everyone should understand is it's not that they don't believe in you. It's that sometimes they don't believe it's possible for themselves, or they haven't seen it for real. So they're like, Juliet, you want to move where and work remotely from your computer online? Sounds like a scam. Well, you already have this great job in this big city. Why don't you just stay? And so the second step is really activating what I call honest courage. And that is the superpower we all have that we don't really know that we have yet. But that's my purpose here. And that's releasing the guilt, the should, and the shame. And so all the people around you that tell you should live like this, the people that are going to try and tell you, you know what? You also have, nieces and nephews. Don't you want to see them grow up? Well, what if I lived in Portland, right? How am I going to see them grow up living in New York? It's the same flight as living in Central America. So releasing that guilt and understanding it's okay to want something different. And it's also okay to start over as long as you're willing to make those sacrifices. And then the shame as well, it's all they're all cousins to each other. It's in the same space. So when you can have your belief and stand in that, you need that community because you can't do it by yourself. And then you can release all those things. And that's when you can start to really boldly go after the life that you want. And that's when you can then start to say, okay, what country do I want to live in? What business should I start? Because if you don't do all those pre-steps, you're kind of just throwing darts. And also you're not really going for what you want. You're just like, that sounds good. Yeah, let's do that.
Yes, and you know what? It depends on what stage in life you're in, because I moved as well. This is my third country of residence, and the very first time it was literally, oh yeah, I bought a ticket. Yeah, I have £1,000. I'm gonna go to London and have a new life. 2 weeks later, I'm there with not a penny, and I don't know what to do. But you know what? It was sort of like played by ear kind of situation, and here I am now, almost 20 years later, in a different country yet again. So I didn't go home.
But sometimes that's a good place to start, right? Like, I'm not saying, plan every single thing, but I'm saying have a vision in mind. But you know what? If it does start where you buy a ticket to anywhere, go for it. But you'll also see that you'll stop.
I wouldn't do it now. In my 40s, I wouldn't do it now. Maybe you're right. The older you are, the more comfort you have. And in my 20s, I could just go and start a new life in a new country, and God knows how it happened, but it did. And then in my 30s, I could jump on a motorbike and don't book any hotels and travel for 2 weeks, across 10 countries. I did that. But in my 40s, I want a nice life.
So I'm going to be interviewing you next time.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you all about that. But it's true that you need to have a vision, because when I moved the very first time, I definitely had that absolute belief that I want to live there. It was west for me, because I came from Estonia, and it was like, I'm moving west and I have to go there, and this is the place. And I didn't even know, I thought London was the place. Ireland is not even the place. I'm moving again somewhere. But you know what, I have to say, guys, you're very lucky these days, because when I was moving, there was no online communities like that could support you. There was no things like Zoom media that we could connect, in 1999 when I moved. So there was so much less. I actually literally did it on my own, and
you had no choice back then. You just have to guess.
Yeah, that's right.
The internet just barely existed too.
It's more about even belief. Even when we ran out of money and everything, it was just the belief. Everything's going to be okay. It's going to work out, and that belief, you can train yourself to have that. Even now in my 40s, I actually had to retrain because I lost it a little bit. But you can have that. The belief that everything's going to be fine, and whatever you're doing, you adjust the course as you go. That's important.
And I'm glad you said that, right? To train yourself to believe and start over, because I think a big part of what happens is we don't forgive ourselves for what we have yet to accomplish. And I was a huge person. I did that for so much of my life. I'm not yet a millionaire. I'm not yet, solving cancer. And so I thought that anything that wasn't that big didn't matter. And then I kind of just stopped until I can do this big thing. And what happens is we don't do anything because we're waiting to do the big thing. So now it's time for us to say, you know what? So maybe I did plan to travel the world by the time I was 40. And if you didn't, it's okay. Start over today.
Yeah, well, it might not be even starting over. It might be just picking up where you left it, because that's okay as well. So you'll travel until you're 50. So you'll travel until you're 60. People's life expectancy is so long these days that you have loads of time ahead of you. Just do it. It's not doing it and hiding from making a decision. That's the problem. Isn't it? And that's the problem. The older you become, the stronger it is. And yet, you see the stories, and I see my life as a story like that. Just go for it and just do it, So this is fantastic. I'm so glad that there is a community like yours. Let's talk about it. So there's a Facebook group for the community, isn't it?
Yes,
isn't there?
There is.
So tell me about it.
Sure. It's called Create Your Global Community, and it's learn to live and work as an expat, digital nomad, or jet setter. So it's really a place where when you come in, one, I'm not your only expert. I'm not your only experienced person. And two, we really give you a lot of, here's how you do it. I've had members say to me, because of this community, I actually was able to move to Colombia. And waking up to Facebook messages like that, that's amazing. I interview a lot of people. Again, it's the hub. So this is the stage where it's no longer me versus that expat coach. Nope, it's and a lot of people will tag me on things. Who is this that I should interview? And so you'll see a lot of folks there that I'm a remote job coach. I'm an expat coach. I'm a digital nomad coach. Whichever thing that you want to do, we're all in this space. And so it's really about, hey, come learn from people that have already done this. And then of course, no matter what you decide, the biggest thing is decide on the best path for you. So our interviews are full of action. They're not just, hey, let's talk at a high level. Let's keep some secrets. I've had someone say to me before, he said that he was watching it with his partner and they were like, wow, that was a really great interview. It was engaging the whole time. It was so amazing. Oh my gosh, people need to learn from you how to interview others. And I take a lot of pride in just really knowing what nuggets to pull out from someone who's on the stage when we only have, 30, 40 minutes, and you can literally take it and say, let me go and execute this thing.
Yeah, it is so true. So I'm looking forward to featuring on your show, just as you mentioned. I'm going to hold that thought. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You gotta, if you have any, even like a tiny little fetus of idea to go and travel, whether it's now when your kids are older or now, then definitely join the community. Start getting inspired straight away and then take action.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
So when we say when you have a little inkling to travel, this is really two things. This isn't like I'm convincing you that you should travel. No, this is if you're the person that's like, I'm a wanderluster, how come I just can't get enough? And especially if you're the person that feels like you're sitting behind your cubicle and you are really, really frustrated that you have to ration out 10 vacation days a year, this is for you because this is how to show you how to turn that into something long lasting. So the whole point of this, the entire point is that you don't have to be limited to 10 vacation days. If you create this global lifestyle, then guess what? You're already traveling as part of your job, or you're already living abroad. I remember when I was living in France and a lot of people would travel all over Europe, and I didn't do that until like the last few months, but I said, I'm already traveling. I already live here, and this is my home country. So creating that lifestyle, and as a digital nomad, if you're working remotely, have an online business, you're really able to say, you know what? I want to go live in this country for 3 months, or maybe you want to stay where you are with your family and only live abroad for like a month or two out of the year. You don't have to be on the road the whole time. So this is really for creating something long lasting. So if you already travel, then I have a feeling that this is where you want to be. This is not about traveling. This is creating a life where you're like, oh, I'm already in this global space. Got it. So I don't have to count vacation days anymore.
That's right, because that feeling of freedom is so important. It's just the fact that you have a choice. Yes. We're not saying pack your bags and go. We are saying have
But
a
if
choice.
You want to, we'll show you how. It's whatever's best for you.
Oh yes, you know what? If I could do it, I would probably do what you just said: 3 months in one country, 3 months in the other country. I would retire eventually somewhere. But I'm such a I'm a gypsy soul. I need to travel. I need to see, and I need to eat and drink and everything. And having your own work on your laptop, all you need is Wi-Fi. Yep. This is amazing. This is a dream for me anyway. So I'm so excited we had this interview. Chizzy, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me. Are we going to drop the link to the group and can people tag me if they have questions?
Absolutely. And actually the link is already there in the description, guys. Definitely tag Chizzy if you have. And I just say go and enter the group, join the group. And then ask your questions and get closer to Chizzy. Definitely. Yeah, much better. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. We will see you next week. Bye everyone. Bye.